Me and heights, we have a complex relationship. On one hand, I love the view, but I get really, really scared. My hands start sweating and I start panicking. I see this small path ahead of me, even though the path is huge, and I only think about the worst case scenario, and that is me falling down into my death. And the Skjeragbolt is the perfect example of this fear.
Good morning.
Yeah,
we are packed up and ready, and
Yes.
We are going to the Skjeragbolt.
The Skjeragbolt, it's a rock stuck in between two mountains, holding it together by sheer force of nature.
We are at the parking place for the Skjeragbolt, and as you can see, the parking space is quite huge. Now we have to find Ida. There is Ida. That is a problem we will not have, sadly. So I crashed the drone. Looks like I cracked the memory card as well. We will start with a push about 200 altitude meters up. It's supposed to be quite steep and quite rough start. Good signs all the way, so it's about 5k walking.
In order to get to the Skjeragbolt, you need to hike for at least 2.5 hours. And that is if you're used to hiking. So if you're not used to hiking, it probably would take you more than 2.5 hours.
On the other side of the valley, there's the mountain.
This trip, there's a lot less people than on Preikestolen, so that's really good. So in that way, it's really recommended because the views are just as spectacular, and I think when we reach the top, they're going to be amazing. And the nature is more untouched, but at the same time, it's a bit more demanding. I think you need to have like better shoes because you walk on rocks and mountains, so better shoes and maybe better shape than to Preikestolen.
This one is about 6 hours or something, and Bukuritë rock or Preikestolen is only like 3. Here you can go back and have lunch at the camp, but here you should bring some food and water, and you will be out more or less the whole day, so it's definitely a more demanding trip or hike. Here you can see that they have built a nice wide trail with stones and bridges all the way. So we go down here and up again to the summit. I guess you can't see it, but somewhere there's a small cabin made of rocks. So it's an emergency shelter. So it's kind of locked, but if you are in need, you can get in. And we are at 870 meters above sea level. So we're getting there. But first we have to go down a bit before we start the big climb up this ridge. And I think that will be the last push. And here we have some signs that says it's 2.8k to Skjeragbolten. What do you think about the track so far, Ida?
Good, but it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of uphill. I think we reached the plateau. It looks like it because we talked to our hosts and they said that on the top it would be very flat. So we think we've reached the plateau now. So we just have to walk and see where we end up.
And as you can see, it's more or less only stone, flat mountain, so very easy to hike. There was actually a guy running here, so it's very easy to walk here. The path goes down here and then it continues over and up, so still a bit climb to do. There you have it, a lot of people standing in line, a bit far away maybe so you can see it, but it's there, I will promise you, in the middle of the image. There's a man standing on top of it now.
When we reached the Skjeragbolt and I saw it for the first time, I got really, really scared. Of course I was happy that we had reached the top, but at the same time looking at this rock just being held up by two mountains and the sheer forces of nature, it got me really, really scared. Thinking that I was gonna go out on this rock and stand there, I was fearing for my life. Me and heights, we have a complex relationship. On one hand, I love the view, but I get really, really scared. My hands start sweating and I start panicking. I see this small path ahead of me, even though the path is huge, and I only think about the worst case scenario, and that is me falling down into my death. And the Sherak bolt is the perfect example of this.
Lite opp i henne. Hoppa. Backflip. Backflip. Ok, ferdig. Ok. Safe ground. That was the Sherak bolt.
Yes.
Do you think, Ida?
I think I was brave. Who did it?
Yeah, you were brave.
That did it.
We were a little bit exposed to get out, get on the bolt itself.
Yeah, but it was actually a quite nice path though. I mean, it was a little exposed, but you could walk, you know, you didn't have to climb around it. And there was like this small thing you could hold on to, but it is really weird that you have going up here on mountains that are fairly easy to climb, you have chains, but when you're actually going up to the bolt, there's really nothing.
Yeah, and I think it's good to know that it's more or less 1,000 meters down to the fjord.
Yeah.
Straight down. So if you fall, you die.
Don't fall.
Don't fall.
If you have enjoyed this video, I recommend that you check out our video from Interlaken, where we are crossing off our bucket list item by item, and Ida really has to face her fear of heights.